back for another episode of the Embodied Love Lounge. And what are we going to be talking about today, Dr. Saida?
I wanted to explore, because I get this question a lot from women saying, I'm doing all these practices and the guys, they don't train, they don't want to learn. There's no good guys out there. I'm like, whoa, time out. So this episode is going to be about all the amazing men out there who remain curious, who want to learn, who are learning, who are not even just learning, becoming more masterful, because you've already learned a bunch of stuff and then there's a level of mastery. And there are men doing that.
And we have a whole slew of them, which we are going to read to you about the goals that they set when going through our program.
Exactly.
Which is a 21-day protocol called YAFAP to help men basically become better lovers.
So that was the first question, really, was what motivates men to learn? What's in it for them? And I thought we could, if you don't mind, reading a couple actual motivational things from the YAFAP program, because for me they touch my heart. And then I might add a 2 cents of the things that I know why men get involved with learning how to be a better lover.
Well, let me pull up the laptop so I can read the quotes
Okay,
as they
let's
are.
have a look.
Let's have a quick little look here. So, we have, first one, I want to be able to better connect to my partner's pleasure and arousal state.
Bravo. Great goal.
But this one's important though, because a lot of people think, oh no, the guy's just thinking about themselves.
Yes, and there are plenty of people that only think about themselves, whether they identify as men or women, it doesn't matter. But yes, there are a lot of people who want to bring pleasure to their partner, and I love to hear it when men want to do that for the ladies.
In fact, it's one of the ones that in all of the many men that have gone through this program, I think shows up the most, frankly. I would like to last between 15 and 30 minutes while being able to experience a lot of pleasure before ejaculation and provide my partner with an equal amount of pleasure.
Ooh, very nice. Yeah, because then it's like, I want this to last longer, but if it lasts longer and we don't feel much, what's the point?
Precisely.
Right.
3, success would be becoming able to control when I want to ejaculate to be more in sync with my partner.
Yes.
So we have that again.
The in sync piece is important. I'd love you just for a second to share the piece that you learned in the research about, is it attunement or being synchronized together?
Well,
why
this
that's
is important because so many programs out there are just, do Kegels, and it's like going to the sex gym and be able to last as long as you want, but there's nothing about then being able to actually bring pleasure to the partner.
Because I grew up on a farm, and so my grandpa would laugh.
This is going to get interesting.
My grandpa would laugh at the people going to the gym. He's like, they're useless. They can't do anything. They can't grab a bale of hay and throw it. They can't catch a cow. He was just really into, well, how is this, all these nice muscles, how are you actually going to use it in real life? And I really feel that the programs that are teaching like gym style sex stuff, great on one level, absolutely, learn, grow. But if you actually can't practice in the act of it, then what's the point? Really, what's the point?
Well, I mean, at least the bodybuilders look good walking down the street to some people's eyes. Doing these sex gym things is not really going to change the look or size of your cock.
No.
And in terms of functionality,
maybe it'll
neither of those
boost
are really
your
working.
Confidence.
It does. I mean, well, this is one of the things. So there are studies out there showing that if you can just locate the muscles that control your urinary stream, then you have a much higher chance of not falling into the category of men who profess premature ejaculation.
Great. So there is, something useful to learning at least the basics of where your pelvic floor is and how it works.
But you can do that right now. Everybody, you want to go ahead and stop your urinary stream? Imagine what you would do. Go ahead and squeeze that muscle that you'd use. In fact, if you can't do that, then go to the bathroom, stop your urinary stream while peeing. Notice that muscle. There you go. You've been able to do it. Frankly, though, these Kegel programs that are having them do all these hours of Kegel will most times lead you into hypertension. So just locate it and you're good. Locate it while then having sex is the next level.
Yes.
So anyways, let's go on though. Oh, you asked about the study. So there was a study with Cindy Meston, and then Bridget Freehart. And they were looking at physiological synchronicity. So they're seeing did people's heart rates actually match up when having sex that they then reported as satisfactory and had higher relational levels of satisfaction. So the piece that they found was that two factors were there that led to higher partnered satisfaction during intimacy and in general during the relationship. And sexual satisfaction depended on, one, having an ability to have self-awareness, and two, the ability to attune to your partner, meaning that you actually were able to feel them, because hopefully they have some self-awareness as well. You have your own self-awareness, and then you can start to synchronize your movements to them in a way that is actually going to bring them pleasure, as opposed to just trying to last longer, not tuning into them, and then not having a good sexual experience, which I think is really what this person here is saying, that they want to be able to control when they ejaculate so they can sync up with their partner's pleasure.
So the basic thing of self-awareness, we can learn that from many different schools, and there's many ways into self-awareness. I think self-pleasure is a fantastic one because it's really literally grabbing your attention. It's like, oh, here I am. And then the attunement thing, though, requires some practice.
Yes.
This isn't as easy, especially in this day of electronic connection, when we're actually physically with the person, there are no screens, doing a thumbs up or a little thing, that's not going to work in the middle of intimacy. So we need to be able to attune in a different way, which is what I really also love around the FF program, because somehow the side effect of how the men are learning to become more self-aware creates that attunement.
Well, this is the thing. When you have self-awareness, most people are going to think about that as sort of a in-the-head mindfulness practice, as opposed to embodied self-awareness. So being able to actually locate your pelvic floor during the act of intimacy, during sex, while kissing, whenever, that already is a certain level of self-awareness. Being able to track your arousal levels is a certain level of self-awareness, but from a body place as opposed to just a mental one.
I would have to agree with that.
And then the piece on attunement, as opposed to learning a series of techniques to read your partner's body language and be able to, do this thing when they do that, which is a very low level of
very
attunement.
prescriptive.
It's prescriptive.
It won't work in every situation.
And in fact, it's not really attunement.
And I have to say, in my experiences,
Oh boy.
I came to the conclusion eventually I would rather have an untrained man with an open heart who's curious and willing to be with me and synchronize or attune, versus a very prolific guy with all his techniques, and he's so in his head and he's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and the whole time like, hello, there's a human with you. So,
well, one of the advice pieces that you sort of hear often mentioned, and there's a particular influencer that does it a lot, was their number one tip to men. Now I think they're probably actually saying our tips, but the tip before that was that they would go into the Taoist counting stroke techniques. It mentioned that, and what your impression was when you had someone do this.
yeah, it was so mechanical and not pleasureful.
So what was it though?
Well, you start with 8 shallow and 1 deep, and then you go 7 shallow, 2 deep. And
These are like how deep the cock is stroking into
and then
the
6
vagina,
shallow and 3 deep, and so on, until you get to 1 shallow and then 8 deep.
And then sex ends at that point, or?
No, then you start over.
Then you start over, okay.
If you make it that far. But the thing is, with these prescriptive things, what you're missing is what I love about how you've guided men and you're guiding men is you're tapping into their bedroom IQ. You're allowing them, your IQ will just light up even more. And that's what we want. We don't want you full of these, it's like salsa dancing and going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you don't know who's there in front of you. You're not paying attention. If they're really short and you're kind of like drowning them in your height, or they're really large and you don't know how to move them. But if you're not counting, you're just being with the rhythm and the music, and you're both laughing, even if you screw up, you're just having a good time, and it's really, really fun. And sex is the same way.
Yeah. So, I understand the purpose of these sort of techniques at the beginning to get you just to even have some sense of awareness.
Yeah.
But if all you become aware of yourself and not the other person, then it actually loses it.
Yeah, but then there's nothing. And so that was my complaint.
Yes.
In my experiences with technical men, let's just call it. So they were on the Taoist side of things. The tantrics did a lot of eye staring, and I was like, okay, with the eye staring. So that you can get lost in these things, but all of these things are beneficial and helpful. But what I really love is this tapping into a man's erotic IQ and allowing that to come forward. And so in some days, maybe all you're going to be doing is breathing at the opening. You're not even going to enter. There might be something going on. Who knows what's happening emotionally, physically.
And it's just a different way to teach. It's not prescriptive. It is more descriptive, and getting a person to actually feel these different ways to orient with their body from a place of feeling. And then when it feels good, that's the motivator to continue to do it.
Yeah.
And by being in a state of pleasure and feeling good, your partner's also going to go, oh, they're really enjoying it. Okay. And they're doing it in a way that actually feels good to me. And now all of a sudden you start to have self-awareness and attunement.
I would love if you're willing in the explicit part to give us a couple things that we could try out.
Well, let's see about that.
Okay. So what else?
Maybe even on this side of the
what else do we have?
So we have another two here. I'd like to last as long as I'd like when having sex with my partner. Consistently great sex. Sex 2 times a week minimum. I want her pleasure and my pleasure to increase 1,000-fold.
Woo! Oh, that's a nice intention.
There you go.
Yeah.
Next one. To be able to choose when I come so I can last through my partner's orgasm. This is a big one. So she has more chance to experience multiple and vaginal orgasms, and for myself to experience more intense orgasms through intercourse. Mm-hmm. Now, this one, I'm going to just jump in. Why I think is so huge is because a lot of times people are going to downregulate their pleasure to be able to last longer.
They think about grandma or count the sheep or something.
Poor grandma.
She's like, not again.
Not again.
Stop thinking about me.
Now, the other piece, though, is that, okay, so one is, yes, are you able to actually enjoy yourself and not downregulate your pleasure? Mm-hmm. But the other piece that's so important is if you are with your partner and you go, oh, well, they're not getting into high states of pleasure, so now I've been able to last the 40 minutes. Well, then something's also off. Mm-hmm. It should be, hey, if you can last 10 minutes where your partner has gone to heightened states of pleasure versus 40 minutes where she's just sort of numbed out, and therefore her pleasure isn't challenging your own capacity to hold a certain amount of pleasure in your body, then the whole point's being missed. So this whole idea of how long can you last being just the amount of minutes as opposed to the quality in those minutes is really off.
That, and there's a piece you're not saying, which is very important.
Let's hear it.
It's the piece on when you connect with yourself in this way regularly, and you start to have sex in this way regularly, you're building your own erotic charge. And let me tell you, when the penis starts to vibrate with an electric current, it's you don't go back after that. You're like, what is that? That is magical. I want that all the time. I don't want anything else, because it's so incredible. Now, with that kind of erotic current within the phallus, I mean, there's been moments where with penetration, just at the very start of it, there can be an explosive orgasm through my body from the charge of, well, the person themselves, but also like because their body is just so full of energy.
And this is, again, the piece that I really emphasize. If all you're doing is Kegels, in the same way that if all you're doing is lifting weights as a way to train for, let's say, a boxing match or even a basketball tournament or a marathon, you need to do the thing that you're actually wanting to have the event in. Mm-hmm. So in other words, if you're wanting to increase your performance in bed, then maybe you should actually interact with your cock in an erect state.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's everything wonderful about it and nothing embarrassing about it when you actually understand all the goodness that comes from self-mastery.
Well, and this literally in the context of this is that your self-practice, your self-pleasure, your masturbation becomes the training grounds for having epic sex. And this way you can also do it with your partner.
Well, then my next question, because There are way more reasons, by the way, that
Will we
men
go
can
over
get in.
their
In a
the
moment.
merits later, the results?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put this back down.
When I used to teach men, I would run men's
Yeah.
classes for the partners of the women who were training with me. And every single one of them already had the intention to just be a better partner, not only in the bedroom, but in life. But then there's pieces that it's not easy for anybody right now to be in the world. And so when we train this way, first of all, we're increasing the good hormones. We are our own hormonal therapy when we do this. And it's super important because when the happy hormones are moving through our body, oxytocin and all the good ones, testosterone, everything, then what we have is the ability to have the courage to make choices that actually enliven our life and make things better for us. We have the confidence to actually maybe create something or to speak up and have boundaries or whatever it might be. And then we also have not only attunement in the bedroom with the lover, we have attunement with life, with people, and we start being better people in our communities or even our families. And this is actually understated, or maybe not even understood, how important it is, that evolution of our own self as a partner, as a lover for ourselves, and how that impacts our partners, our families, our communities.
Well, and just between the relationship, imagine you have a guy, or as a guy, you're in the state of, I want sex. I don't have it. You need to provide it to me. Or as a partner, you see your partner craving sex. They don't have that. They need to get that from you. What attraction does that have? But now imagine the other way. Whoa, they are vibrating with sexual potency. They're feeling good in themselves. They are completely pumped up and just happy because they've been doing their own self-practice. And then you go, what's going on over there? I think I want a piece of that. Now that second scenario is so much more attractive and leads to so much more intimacy.
So true. It's so true. I remember in a past relation, anytime he would practice, it didn't matter. He didn't tell me. I knew I could be outside in the yard, way far away with a headset on. All of a sudden, I'm like, and I would run like beeline straight to him and like pounce on him, and he would laugh. He's like, "How did you know I was just?" I'm like, I don't know. I just need to be here right now. So we are very connected. This charge, this elevation of the erotic IQ it's not just a show. It's not just I'm better than everyone. It's literally an act of beautiful benevolence towards yourself in life.
Because if no one's having pleasure, then there's no sense in lasting longer. So the other piece that I always state around the AFAP program, it's not lasting longer. It's lasting longer by feeling more and then boosting your pleasure capacity.
I think the feeling more part is really important, because if we look at how men are conditioned, you're pretty much conditioned to hold most of your feelings inward, avoid feeling them or speaking about them or anything. There's a few brave humans that might go to therapy where they can kind of talk about their feelings, but in general, it's still taboo for a man to like just openly cry or openly express that he's afraid or whatever these things. Very human things. I think the bravest of men have to face some of the biggest fears.
Yes.
And that doesn't make them less courageous or less than.
Well, it's not really courage unless you've encountered fear.
Exactly.
So that's what makes it courageous versus just doing something.
So feeling more isn't just feeling more in the genitals, which definitely is huge, because there's all this stuff that you're doing where, wow, like there's so much more sensation. When you have more sensation, you move differently and you experience your partner very differently. Because if you don't feel anything, you're going to be probably a friction sex type person where it's just very quick, very vigorous, and quickly going into that sympathetic arousal
Because normally
response.
if 0 is completely unaroused and let's say 8 is where you're starting to go over the edge and 9 you're already starting to ejaculate and 10 it's done, then a lot of men aren't actually feeling anything. They're not actually feeling their cock until that 8 to 10 range, which is why then there's a speeding up to go there so as not to lose the erection, or some speed up when they've had the erection, because this program, it doesn't just help premature ejaculation. It's also helped men with delayed ejaculation. In fact, I would say about a third of the people that are taking the program is specifically because they're like, well, I last 30, 40 minutes. But then when they're filling out their profile, they say, but I feel a 1 when I ejaculate, or I feel out of 0 to 5, I feel about a 0 when it comes to self-stimulation, or sometimes it's not even with the self-stimulation, it's particularly with a partner. And so then they need to jackhammer, and they feel that they just can't get over that edge.
And so feeling more is also not in the collective. If you watch any porn, what part of the guy are you seeing in porn? Do you see any facial expression?
Yeah.
That's usually where we, as human beings, we track emotional cues. We don't see any face. When do we see the face? We never see the face. So we're being trained to be almost this mechanical robot-like thing. Maybe it's because we're in a toy culture, I don't know, but there is this mechanical thing, a non-existent person where his heart doesn't matter, and it's just not true. And in some of my most odd, say, experiences, where I've just taken a moment to take a deep breath and be with that person, sometimes they would start crying, not because of the moment, just they were holding so much stress and tension that just to be seen and someone just being with them helped release that floodgate of stuff, and it didn't emasculate them. It just was something very beautiful that we shared.
Well, and then the other side of this is the pleasure capacity part. And I really want to speak into that because this literally never gets spoken about. And by pleasure capacity, I don't mean just in the moment, which also has its massive attributes.
Oh, yes. And there's so much to be experienced.
Because if you think about it, sort of like, okay, well, if I can contain this much pleasure, and then if I go over that, now I'm going to ejaculate, and your partner's feeling this much pleasure because she's about to orgasm, or maybe you both are at this place, well, she's kind of edging there, you start to edge, you go over, and then now your pleasure capacity needs to increase. So there are ways to start to increase that. And edging is one of them that you'll hear about, which is to go close to coming and then step away, go close to coming, step away, and then allow yourself to finally come. Now, that sort of increases the pleasure capacity to a bit during that moment. Typical sex therapy advice. However, if you can go into ejaculatory choice, where now the pleasure capacity means that it's actually maintained over prolonged periods of time, not just in one sexual session, but multiple sexual sessions, whether it happens 1, 2, 3 times in one day, or several days, weeks, months, whatever, then all of a sudden you are actually maintaining a higher state of buzz and pleasure in your own body that then is very charismatic in terms of drawing in your partner to be like, what's this charge you're walking with? Plus you feel energized. You then, when you go to these heightened states and starting from a higher place of pleasure capacity, then you will even reach these tiers that you mentioned, but as opposed from a release of tension, it's simply an overpouring of joy because it just feels so good.
Yes.
There's so much emotion there.
Well, let's finish this public part with talking about the impact when a man really chooses to lean into his area of erotic intelligence and starts to become more and more masterful. And honestly, for me, this is a lifelong journey. I've been practicing for a very, very long time, and it's every day something new is emerging. So I can't see that the learning and the path of mastery in this department ever ends until the day I take my last breath, I suppose. So there isn't a getting anywhere. It's more of an emergent unfolding of what's possible, and what's possible is always more extraordinary than you could possibly start to imagine. So the impact for me, and then I'd love to hear for you the impact within your body, like sensations and the things that happen. The impact for me is, first of all, I have a very healthy sexual appetite. So to have a partner who feels like they can meet that confidently, with fun, with play, and actually take me even to places I didn't know I could go, it's extremely arousing, but it's also, I feel seen, I feel met, I feel like, And I do know that for a lot of women, and we see that with the quote unquote orgasm gap, there's always this feeling of, is there more to sex than what I know? Like, what else is there? And so there can be a frustration. So when a person chooses to learn, the impact is less frustration, more connection, and actually we've found that the orgasm gap completely evaporates.
Yes.
Which is super cool.
And that is clinically proven, IRB approved study. So
yeah. So if you hear that it's still out there, it's how people are approaching the situation versus there is an actual solution to close that gap. Another level of impact is just the charisma. Like, I love being around my partner when he's just kind of emanating this charismatic magnetism, and all kinds of magical things start happening in our life because of that, versus being around a partner who's shut down or angry or depressed
or depleted, maybe
depleted or just bored. Like, that's really hard because I'm such a high energy person. I love life. I mean, I almost died, so I'm really like eating this experience as much as I can. And so to have a person not participate fully in life, it's hard. It's like, oh, come on, let's do it. So to have a person who invests in themselves and brings energy and enthusiasm and curiosity to the relationship, that's hot.
So what is it like for myself to
the
feel
impact
charged,
of
practice?
Learning and continuing to learn.
So there is a tremendous amount of trust in oneself that develops, a tremendous amount of confidence that also develops. And this isn't from a mental place. It actually is from a felt state. So as opposed to being told what to do, myself as a guy, if I can have some pointers in how to connect with myself and then tune into my erotic IQ to then go on a discovery with my partner is what really makes it special.
Yes.
Because again, it allows it not to be just living in, oh, did I please you? You know, did we last enough time? Did you come? You know, frankly, if you come just once, like you're going to want a second. If you've done it twice, and you're going to want thrice. And if done it 3 times, then you're going to want to be able to do as many times as you can quit counting.
Yeah.
So just to be like, oh, did you do it once? It's like, oh, that's what a vibrator might be for. You know, you just kind of want to relieve yourself. So the ability to actually go on that journey of discovery with you and find new things about yourself as well as myself, like, just is extremely satisfying.
Yes.
Now, from a physical state, doing these sort of practices, first of all, you start to generate this internal heat. Your body gets hotter. You then, after that, I mean, a lot of men I don't think ever even get necessarily to the heat part. But if you then go beyond the heat part, then there's this electricity. It's almost like a static charge, a buzz.
Yeah. And
probably the most similar you can feel to that is when you get like really aroused and you just start getting the erection. You're like, oh, what's happening? Some men maybe at the beginning would be like, oh, that's when I'm frustrated and I just need to masturbate and ejaculate to then bring that energy down. So quite quickly, as teenagers, a lot of times, the shame of an erection as opposed to the pride of having one and the enjoyment of having it, not necessarily needing to do something about it, as opposed to just continually discharging it. You already are training yourself away from that. But starting to feel that energy and realize that it's actually something that brings you forwards and that charges you up, that then gives you energy for other areas of life, is absolutely incredible.
Amazing.
Now, there's another piece though. And I've noticed that especially as we go more and more days where I've chosen not to ejaculate, it's as if in my stomach and lower belly, there's this, have you ever seen or heard a percolating coffee machine? The ones that go,
yeah.
It's that sensation of kind of like a bubbly, I don't know if it smells like coffee in terms of this, but you know, whatever floats your boat or whatever else might be floating. But this percolating sense of joy that's a physical feeling goes with the heat and the electrical charge that is with the genitals.
It's beautiful.
So, before we jump over, though, I think we should give at least a little bit something to the people that have been listening on what they can do just to start to get a general idea of why they should check out this YAFAP program.
Yeah, absolutely. And before you give that, what I like about the program is if you're single, you can do it on your own, and there are layers of it. So you wouldn't just do the 21 days, you can keep going, which is pretty cool. And then if you have a partner, you can actually include them. And that's the part I really like.
Well, that's the thing. So the first level of completing the 21-day challenge is, our system is on your own. Second level would be then with your partner's hand or mouth. And then the third level is doing the same thing with actual penetration or intercourse.
Yeah.
Because it, one, allows you to grade up. Now, a lot of times people will maybe do the first week one way and then bring in the partner for the other, and then they can continue on their own and they'll mix and match it. But having that has helped so many partners where, I mean, the guy's like, oh, I just wish my partner wanted sex more than, once a week. And then all of a sudden they're like,
it's a daily practice.
well, the partner's like, oh, I want to become a part of that. And then there's no more shame around masturbation. The partner gets curious. They get invited into it as opposed to forced to go in and have sex.
Yeah.
And it just really changes that whole dynamic.
We've seen that with new couples, and we've also seen it with couples together with kids and for a very long time. So it's...
Well, should we read off some of the results then that happened? Would that be for this side?
Let's read one, and then we'll save a couple.
I mean, I feel like the results should be for everyone to know. But okay, anyways. All right. So, some of the results. Maybe we don't have to talk about them all the way through. I'll just read. There's 4 of them.
Okay.
Definitely saw an increase in how long I could last. I was around 3 minutes on average with using my hand, and now I've had a number of experiences where I'm fucking my wife's hand and lasted well over 10 minutes. One time, 15 minutes. She finds it super hot as well.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And then he writes, and this is, on this case here, the person had gone through just a week and a half of the program.
That's the other cool thing is you get results right away.
Right away, well, we're going to see. I had one experience with my wife where penetration lasted a lot longer than previous. While I wasn't moving as much as I'd like to without coming at that point, it was still pleasurable for both of us and lasted more than 10 minutes. My wife came while I was penetrating her, which was great.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Well,
because people want to feel that together. They're really looking for that.
Absolutely. Well, in this couple, I remember specifically because we did an exit interview at the end, and I think even did a video recording where it came out that she had endometriosis and would have pain during sex and was no longer having pain. And then by that time, she was able to be having orgasms and sex was able to last a lot longer.
Yeah.
Now, 2, I did get much more pleasure from masturbation and ejaculating, much more than rushing while watching porn.
Yeah, so even though at times he would still choose to release, he was getting so much more pleasure than when he was doing it before watching the porn. Yeah, that's great.
Yes, I learned how to navigate my arousal cues, and once I get to a 7, I apply one or more of the tools in the course. Also, I don't fear losing the erection anymore, as Aaron explained that it is normal and erections go through phases.
Yes.
On my 3rd day going through the program, I did 27 minutes of self-pleasuring and no ejaculation. Since then, I can go pretty much as long as I want. This is very valuable information. I'm very thankful that you're sharing it with others. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
That's a really important one. Maybe we can talk about it in the explicit. Yeah.
I accomplished my initial goal of lasting longer than my average time of less than a minute when using porn. Then, when using only my imagination as instructed, I lasted 5 minutes. Then, when using the heart-genital connection as a tool by itself, I lasted 30 minutes. Just on the 3rd day. Wowza.
That one brings a little bit of tears to my eyes because I want to normalize the beauty of really just opening ourselves and being connected with ourselves. It sounds so woo-woo, but if we can take the woo away, maybe bring the wow back, and just to recognize like actually being open and feeling pleasure and joy is what we're hardwired for. We're not hardwired to be stressed and unhappy all the time. We really are hardwired for that. And when I hear a person coming home to themselves in that way and having these incredible results just because they made the choice to love on themselves, so amazing. I'm so grateful. So if you're watching this and you would love to learn, definitely check out YAFAP. It's a great program. And we'll put in the show notes the link to the course.
Do we give them a little teaser before we jump over what they could try out? as a practice?
All right.
All
I know
right.
you want to do it.
I always want to give.
I want to do that on the other side, so they come
We'll
and
go into
join
more
our
details.
explicit side.
But here you go. So this is something really simple you can do. The next time that you begin to touch yourself, become aware of the temperature of the room. Just become aware of what it feels like for the rest of your body so that you're not so focused just on your genitals. And then continue to stimulate yourself. Notice how that is and bring some voice. Bring some voice out to the pleasure that you're feeling. We'll leave it at that. Now, in the explicit side, we'll go into more details. In the AFAP program, there are 7 tools that you're going to get 3 versions of over 21 days that, really hone this
And
into
your
high
whole pelvic
specificity.
floor piece
Exactly.
that's way, way better than Kegels.
Forget Kegels. This is now actually using it during an experience. Plus, we also have you incorporating, because you're not learning 7 tools as here's one technique, here's one other technique. It's how to combine and mesh these. And so at the end of each week, you then have a guided meditation
I lead
for
you
people
through.
to follow along
Female
and mesh
voice.
everything together. Yes.
And the thing I wanted to say is, when I see all these programs, just Kegel, 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 we know some of the top pelvic pain therapists. We know some Olympic level athletes and trainers. And the main issue that men, for lasting longer, for even feeling anything, for having the pleasure they want, is pelvic tension. So if you're practicing wrong and just increasing your pelvic tension, it's actually going to worsen your situation, not make it better. And then you'll think there's something wrong with you when there isn't. It's the technique, not you.
And the trainers that are coming and talking to us, they say, yeah, my clients, when they sit there and talk to me, they'll say they have issues lasting. They're building all this muscle, but then again, it's building that pelvic floor tension. And the pelvic floor therapists are saying the ones that are just doing the Kegels are training themselves into
Sexual
atrophy.
dysfunction. Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's jump over. You ready?
Yep.
Woo! To join us for the complete and explicit version of this podcast, just simply upgrade your membership and you'll get instant access.